years.
Excuse me, I wanted to welcome everyone to the regular meeting, February. I'd like to call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming. Make sure you sign in on the attendance sheet. Please make sure your cell phones are off. Our next regular meeting will be on April 12th at 7 o'clock. April audited claims meeting will be held on the first Monday, April 4th at 5:30 p.m. Executive session may occur this evening if deemed necessary. Nancy has a letter from the Town of Webb Historical Association that she would like to read.
Hold that thought. Dear Bonnie and the members of the Town Council, on behalf of the trustees of the Town of Webb Historical Association, I would like to thank you for your continued support. Your check of $12,000 helps us maintain the offerings of both the Goodsell Museum. All while the museum has been closed, the staff has been busy working, discovering new historical facts, and trying to get a handle on the incredible amount of information we do have. The job is time-consuming, but interesting and fun. We are working on opening again this spring with new exhibits. We hope that you all will take the time and come and see them. Local artists Greg Klein and Rob Amundo have painted fantastic murals for us in our Adirondack room. Again, thank you, Kate Lewis, Director. That's it.
So tonight we are looking at Macaulay Mountain manager Steve Eustavinas has spoken to the board about purchasing a new groomer. The purchase is in the 2022 budget. I'd like a motion that the board will advise and accept proposals for the proposed lease purchase agreement to replace the 2009 Piston Bully groomer currently in service at Macaulay Mountain with a new Piston Bully 400 groomer. All proposals must be submitted to the town clerk of the Town of Webb on or before 11 a.m. April 12th, 2022. All bids will be open at the 7 o'clock meeting and be read aloud. This lease agreement is in the 2022 budget. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
A second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on that?
No, I mean, this is just, this was planned for, so this is an expected
Yep.
Correct.
purchase.
Any roll call, Nance?
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Bakers?
Aye.
4 ayes.
The Recreation Committee has presented to the board a copy of a plan and future use of the George T. Hildebrandt Recreation Center. The board would like to seek funding from grant sources for the project. The town board must be shovel-ready for the acceptance of the grant from the Wattis Foundation or other grant sources to move forward. Do I have a motion that the town board, the Town of Webb, will seek funding from grant sources to pay for the North Street project? The town board must be shovel-ready for the acceptance of a grant from the Wattis Foundation or other grant sources to move forward with the project. It's the intention of the Town of Webb to provide modifications to the current flooring of the pavilion designed for multi-play sports. The contractor will provide all necessary design materials, incidentals, methods, labors, and supplies to complete the installation. The Town of Webb will be seeking bids for the multi-sport play on March 21st at noon at the Town of Webb Clerk's Office, 3140 State Route 28, Old Forge, New York, 13420. Bid specs are on file with the town clerk. The project will be contingent upon receipt of grant funding. The town of Webb reserves the right to reject any and all proposals. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
Nancy, can you do a roll call on that, please?
Councilman Gardner,
Aye.
Councilman Greco,
Aye.
Councilman Ross,
All right.
Supervisor Baker,
Aye.
4 ayes.
Next, I'd like a motion that the board declare the 2007 Spec Tech garbage trailer as surplus. The trailer will be sold for scrap. The trailer was replaced with a 2021 Spec Tech trailer. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion on that?
My understanding is that it's in pretty disrepair,
Scrap.
so
Scrap.
might have to go away on a trailer. So,
Nancy, can you do a roll call vote on that, please?
Councilman Gardner,
aye.
Councilman Greco,
Aye.
Councilman Ross,
Aye.
Supervisor Baker,
Aye.
4 ayes.
I'm lost, man. I did that.
Councilman Gardner.
Oh,
You're
that's
done.
right.
You're done. We're done.
I forgot where we were.
You're on to the
didn't
council.
say
You're
we're
on to the
talking.
council people.
So, I
You're
wasn't
up.
totally prepared for this, but we've talked a little bit about the dog park. We were looking to do a dog park down North Street. And we just got the approval from the APA that the land indeed, which they originally surveyed it for and said it was good, but then we had some back and forth stuff going on. But the land is indeed okay for us to move forwards with the plan of the dog park there. And Cap 21, Live in 80K, sorry, received a notice, and I'm gonna let Judy speak now, I guess, if you're okay with it.
Sure, yeah. I have a very close friend, probably my best friend growing up, who was fortunate enough to want to do something in honor of his father, who spent many of his years up here as a youth. He's pushing 90 now and has dementia. Pat thought it would be nice to do something to remember his father, so he donated to us $20,000 for the dog park, which was very nice. So it kind of takes a little bit of the fundraising and stuff off the plate. You know, we have a little bit to do, but yeah.
So, and then Cap 1180K was great to create a community fund to accept that donation. So the project will be a joint thing between town and Living 80K. So there'll be probably more on that once we get everything all ironed out and the plans. But just basically have to figure out the budget. With COVID changing metal prices so drastically, the fencing is proving to be way more expensive than what it was when we started talking about this project even a year ago. So we're just got to figure out how we're going to figure that part out. But hopefully this year we'll break the ground on that
Yeah,
and
that's right.
have that for the
Can I ask
community
a
use.
question about
Yeah.
that? Just the location of it, is it just beyond the paved parking lot?
So if you go
Sort
up
of behind the-
you go through where the gated
Yeah,
lot is going up the hill.
yeah,
So you'll go up probably about 30 feet and there'll be a culvert put in, and then there'll be a nice gradual pathway down into the wooded area there. And then the idea is to leave the trees surrounding it and put in a green fence so it blends in. It'll have a small dog park where
Side.
No, that's
40
fine.
pounds and unders go, and then you'll have 40 pounds and over section. And it goes, we're planning on hopefully, if we can figure out the fencing, 150 feet I think it was?
150 by 75.
75,
Yeah.
yeah. And
So
then-
it'll be sectioned off for littles and bigs, so
Right,
they're not
yeah.
together.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's got the natural surrounding in there and everything else like that, so. It'll be a beautiful little park area to go down, play with your animals.
Nice.
So, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
We need less poop on the fields.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
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 And then everything else that I've been working on, I guess I really just I'm not ready to speak on, so, but it's been a busy month, so. It's gonna be it for me.
All right, Tommy.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for the support for, getting the approval to apply for that grant. I wanted to thank Kyle. Bonnie made a committee, threw a couple of us together to figure out the best way to go about this. Daniel Keefe was a lot of help. Jackie, our rec director. We don't have anything like straightened out of how it's going to proceed with like the schedule and who's going to be using it and the color of the floor and all that stuff. All this was to get the approval to apply for the grant, which we can do now once we get these bids in, and then as I understand it, we could be able to get our application in by their March 26th, I think, deadline. So we could have an answer on whether we get funds or not by then. And then if we don't, hopefully we can find other ways to make it happen. A couple other things, well, just one other thing really, like, the short-term rental thing has been looked at for a while before I was elected. And I just wanted to say, regardless of what we're doing and where it's at, I've just been looking into trying to prioritize that to get something in place, because I think that's really, we should have a sense of urgency on it. And I've done a little bit of research with that and talked with Daniel and got some information from him based on other towns and what they're doing and how they're proceeding and how it's working. And I think it would be really beneficial for us to come up with something that we can actually agree on to put it in place, because a lot of properties being lost, I guess, is what I should say. That's all I have for the most part.
Okay, yeah. Let's not talk about the fuel prices.
Okay. Yeah, so Corey Reed called me today. He is leading our wastewater treatment plant project. And he asked me to ask the board, ask the supervisor, to give a nod that he can talk to our attorney. He needs to talk to Brian and set up a couple of things. And do you know?
We already did that.
Was that Corey?
We talked to Brian and Bob Hafner last week about it. I already connected the two of them.
Okay.
So we're good.
So he called
They
me
talked
today
last
though.
week.
So he doesn't know what's going on, or?
We already talked to him last week.
Okay, so he called me today.
I'll make sure.
Yes, it's very important, because the town attorney has to be talked to by basically Corey, because Corey knows how to do this, because they have to write up a resolution that we have to have for the seeker, to do the seeker.
Oh, last week. I'm confused.
Me too, because he called me today.
Bonnie and I had a conference call last week.
Okay, well, then I'm just confirming that we're doing that then, because it's quite important at this point.
We'll connect tomorrow.
So also
Yeah, make sure that's on.
the letter to be sent to the DEC for the extension, for the disinfection.
Last I knew it was set in January.
Okay, because he doesn't know that that's been done either, so.
Well, Corey should call here.
Okay, so
I
there's
asked
those.
him to call either here or the town attorney, because the town
Okay.
attorney has a lot to do with this also.
Yeah, we'll get that.
We'll get that
make
straightened
sure
out tomorrow.
We'll make sure he knows that we're
Okay.
February.
We thought this was all done last week.
Okay, well, I assumed it also, but when he
Yep.
called me, I have to go backwards.
I'm totally confused.
Okay, no, me
That's,
too.
that's good. We all might be, so we'll get it fixed tomorrow.
That's probably why this thing's been taken, we lost 2 months out of the deal here, so. So anyways, in that conversation, he also mentioned that there's a lot of money out there, and maybe Dan could speak a little bit about this, or maybe Dan doesn't know about this. There's money out there for water infrastructure. And I know we got a lot going on, but you hate to lose momentum on some of this. So I had talked to Scott, because he had been looking at replacing fire hydrants, water valves, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't take a lot to get shovel ready for those kind of things, because it's just replacements. And the only thing Corey did say about that is, the one part about trying to get a grant for that is you have to get an engineered design, which that's the expense. So to go out and get $20,000 is not worth it, because you're spending almost that to get an engineered design. So, but we'll see what Scott comes up with for hydrants and all that stuff.
Okay. Hydrants, and what else did you say?
Valves, water valves, and that will all be under the water district. So those things, that's it. Sorry about
Nothing
that.
on, nothing on the
Hey,
price of gas today.
I'm not gonna even go
Yeah,
there.
gas prices, holy moly, guys.
Our budget might have a little problem. with
So,
gas this year.
we are working on a lot of stuff that that we're not ready to talk about yet because I can't give you any answers on some stuff. But one thing I am doing is I will be scheduling a meeting in April with Robert Smullen, the Department of Transportation and the APA to discuss emergency access road to Beaver River, which has been an ongoing issue for 50 years, from what I can see. So we're gonna get and discuss that, like Kurt said before, the train's bringing in, can you explain that more?
Well, it's just,
Be better.
the state has put, I think, I might be wrong in this number, but I think it's $54 million of redoing the tracks between Utica essentially and Tupper Lake. And then they took also taking out the tracks from Tupper Lake to Lake Placid to create a walking trail there, or biking trail, whatever you want to do. But in doing that, they're also creating handicapped accessible platforms at each station. So in Beaver River, don't quote me on it, but I think it's a 400-foot wooden platform they're going to build so that it's handicap accessible to get out there. Well, the Beaver River is not handicap accessible once you go off the platform, and the state won't. They don't know if they're actually going to drop people off there or not. They won't give an answer if they're making it a tourist destination to like drop people off. Like people can get off at all these different stations, but nonetheless, like last year there was a train derailment that happened there in Beaver River above it, and if we are going to be having people in there and Big Moose doesn't have the services there either now, we're creating a possible problem, especially in the seasons when you can't get across the lake and you can't get up the tracks, or in the wintertime. So the idea is it's not an open road where anybody can just go up there and change the dynamic of the area, but a gated emergency service or a service road that can be put in place that would, do that. We did meet. Mike and I went up and looked at different areas of, they presented different areas of where they could put this road, and you could run a road along the side of the railroad tracks, except for the fact that there's about 1,000-foot waterway where there's water. Basically, there's wetlands, and I personally feel like they're now creating this problem that wasn't there before, and I think that there needs to be some giveaway here. That there needs to be some kind of addressing of dealing with it, a potential problem down the road.
Especially they won't even answer the question of what their plan is. Are you planning on dumping or letting even 10 people off is too many right now?
There's a webinar I think that you could probably find too on it that was on there, and the question was asked there, and there was a panelist of DC state people, and, they really don't. That's not their part. Their part is putting the tracks in, making it compliant. It's up to the trains now to figure out what they're going to do. Is basically what I got from it. So.
The Thompsons are pretty concerned because their family is getting older and some of their kids aren't there anymore, and they run the barge that basically takes fuel and vehicles and everything out there that they said it may not last forever, our barge system, so.
The
Or their
barge
service.
I'd be
if the barge
surprised if
system
it's
goes
one
away,
more year.
then it's really going to be a big problem for up there getting services of that. But it's also identifying the fact that there are people that live in Beaver River that don't want people to be able to access it easily. So it's, I think it's more of finding a respectable placement where it's a gated or some sort of service road where it's not going to become a highway.
Right now, with the weather that just happened, you almost can't get there,
Well, can't.
It's, or they can't get out either.
So that's
So
basically,
yeah, so I'll be doing that. The other thing that this morning I was riding around drinking my coffee and I went by Maple Ridge and I saw that building over there and I got out and I started looking around and saw what an eyesore it was and decided to call the town workers down there and tell me why it should still be standing there, or if the foundation was right, or how much money would need to be put into it to make it look like it was one of our buildings. So I was told that there was already stain bought for it, and we're going to get some window quotes for that. So that building over on Maple Ridge will look a little springier, nicer this spring. That's been really just,
You're talking about the BTI building?
yes.
Yeah.
That building's been let go for a while and it's been bothering me,
The
so.
school doesn't own that building?
No,
Oh,
no, we
what they
do.
do?
BTI building.
Yep. So that was the bug under my bonnet this morning. Other than that, I really don't have anything else. Nance, do you have anything?
We have the clubhouse at the golf course are applying for a liquor license. They might be doing their own food service. So that's just an FYI for the Newark Golf Club. And that's all I have.
Okay.
FYI, that's it.
So to the public. Any questions? Any concerns?
I have a question.
Okay.
The farmer's market that's going to North Street area,
Mm-hmm.
my understanding, and I'm speaking on behalf as a camp director, and the camp counselors have voiced concern to me. In the past, Water Safari used the parking lot for overflow, and the way let me step back for a minute. The way the counselors park their cars, they do it in a line so the kids are safe to cross the street, the parking lot, from the back door of the pavilion to the playground, okay? Motorcycles have gone through there because of Water Safari parking, cut through there. I don't even know how they got through our cars. The parents were very, very upset because it took them like 45 minutes to get from point A to point B to pick up the campers. I'm just a little concerned about how the parking will be handled and to make it safe for the campers and to get the parents.
I have a meeting about parking next week.
Okay,
So when I get through with that meeting, hopefully we'll have some answers for that.
perfect.
But you need to get with me tomorrow and tell me what you just told me about how they park their cars,
Okay,
so that we know where they need to get through from point A to point B
okay.
without an issue,
All right.
okay?
Yes.
What's the overlap there anyway with the schedule, like, because the
It's-
farmer's market's what, 1 to 5, but they're there from like 11 to,
They're there from 11 to 5:30, they're usually out of there by 5:30.
so your camp is.
Camp is from 9 to
on
1,
9
Right.
to 1, okay.
yeah, so there is a bit of an overlap.
I've been over there with representatives from that, and we've been looking at parking because there's a couple of other small issues, but personally, I think it can work without too much of a problem.
Well, I'm
There's
sure-
quite a bit of room over there.
I'm sure it can, I just
Yeah,
want to make
we're-
sure the campers are safe and the
Yeah,
parents can pick
absolutely.
up
Yep.
the kids with no problem.
Mhm.
Because they were upset, and I don't blame them.
First, I'll just piggyback on that, wondering where the actual market area was gonna be and where the parking for that was gonna be. Can we use the overflow parking lot for that? I mean, is there a plan in place for, because I was thinking the same thing, that the campers are there, Water Safari, you know, I mean, people talking about, there's an issue with parking with the farmer's market, and there's gonna be one there too.
Hence why I'm
if
having a
the-
parking.
If the market itself's gonna be in the parking lot, then you're
Yeah.
taking up a lot of parking
The,
spaces.
the market, from what I understand, will be in part of the parking lot.
Has there been any discussion about putting it in the field? Using
Yeah,
it-
they can't pull their trucks onto
They
the
don't want to
field.
be in the field.
Oh, that's true.
Because we thought about school field before too, but all those trucks on the field
Yeah.
would damage the
That's
field.
true.
So we did talk about that, but there is definitely a parking issue. And I'm meeting with Enchanted Forest as well as other people to talk about what we're gonna do down there.
If you know where the Packer Shack, they're gonna pretty much start way down there in that area, so they won't even probably go.
Like along the basketball court towards the
Mhm.
picnic
Yeah,
area,
they're gonna utilize all
playground.
that area, so in my opinion, I can really briefly tell you what we talked about with Robin, is some sort of just I'll say a fence, but it's just a makeshift deal. If you're looking at the swing sets that are there at the play area, if you came kind of straight across there and kind of blocked that off, somewhere in that area, I don't know exactly where, but somewhere in there, so that everything, farmer's market would be over here, and the rest of everything else would not, would be parking or whatever, but I guess. Bonnie's
And as
gonna
soon
have
as,
some
as soon
opinion.
as the ground melts, we'll map it out and we'll know,
Right.
you know, we'll have more of an idea what's gonna be exactly where.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I have another.
Mhm.
If you'll indulge me.
Yes.
Okay. I know that the 8th draft of the short-term rental law has been presented to you guys. Oh, guys, I mean, everybody.
The
And,
board,
you know, my first comment about that is that it took 7 months to get from draft 7 to draft 8, and the changes, I thought, were kind of, could have been done in a day. So that's my first comment about that. And the second, well, I have more than 2. Sorry, but to say, I know this isn't a public hearing, but I just,
No, you go ahead.
I'm kind of chomping at the bit here because it's been.
The floor is
so-
yours.
It's been so long. I
The
mean,
floor
this
is
thing
yours.
started when my husband was in office. You know, that was 2 supervisors ago,
Mhm.
so, you know, give me a break. Anyway, does anybody know, I'm gonna have a few questions you may or may not know any answers to, but anybody know the costs incurred in the development of this document, including all of the legal fees, the consultant fees, all of that?
No.
I mean, I understand that the original draft isn't even available. Is that true?
haven't had anybody ask for it, so
I don't know.
no one's
I
asked
haven't
me for
looked
it.
at the original.
Okay. I wondered if Nan Solzenberg was still involved in the process. She was the consultant that was hired by the town to do the original draft. Do you know, anybody know if she's still involved with this process?
No,
Only last thing we've done with Nan was the update on the zoning ordinance, and then COVID hit.
Yeah, and that's another,
Kind of COVID hit.
Axed that.
so everything kind of fell apart then.
Yeah.
Okay. Have the new board members been made aware of the history of all of this? Or is it just kind of up to you to figure out?
We had that meeting when it was kind of.
Draft 9 is here.
Draft 9 just arrived.
Oh, 9 is what I'm talking about.
Draft 9
Okay,
arrived.
so
The
draft
attorney's
9.
coming April,
So, draft 9.
We did meet with the attorney. on
the
draft
attorney's
9.
coming April
Okay.
7th to talk about draft 9.
To talk about draft 9.
Mhm.
And this is from the attorney, correct? This
Correct.
draft.
Like to
Yes.
get together with the board so that they're not emailing all these separate questions, they're gonna have a one-on-one meeting.
Because
non-public.
you know, there's so much wrong with it, in my estimation. A lot of stuff missing, a lot of stuff not being addressed at all. Including what the regulatory agencies are that are even going to enforce any of this if it's passed. It doesn't even mention, you know, what is it, if it's a codes enforcement office, well, lots of these things happen on weekends. What's the plan? You know, is there been any discussion about any of that? If this were to be passed as is.
Pretty much why it's been taking so long, because all these things have been coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah, and in the meantime, we're getting in trouble. There's essentially, in this document, no protection of long-term neighborhoods, like RV neighborhoods, nothing at all. Other towns have addressed this. They've banned essentially short-term rentals in residential areas. There's nothing in here about anything like that at all. You
That's
know,
one thing that I was looking into as a new member, was the zoning part of it.
Yeah,
I was trying to
mean,
gather information and educate myself with that, and
Yeah.
I was doing that through Daniel, and I even talked to Mr. Getty about that, with, zoning being something that should be brought into this, because in my opinion,
Absolutely.
it should.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, you could even do a moratorium on short-term rentals in RV zones until the zoning is updated. I mean, there's lots of stuff you can do. And I'm just, you know, getting really frustrated that
Time is
it's
of the
just
essence.
kind of been dragging and dragging. And in the meantime,
I guess.
the character and quality of life of our neighborhoods has really been negatively impacted.
100%.
You know, there's nothing in here at all about how short-term rentals have affected property prices and how long-term rentals have been turned into short-term rentals, so the availability of them is getting lower and lower, making it really impossible for workers in this town to find a place to live, whether to buy a place, which is totally out of reach now for most people, and other workers too. And I'm talking about teachers too. People making decent salaries can't afford to live here. I mean, we're all seeing that, to either buy properties or even to rent them. There's nothing that addresses that at all in here. It's really, it's pretty distressing to see our town, the future of the town looking kind of bleak in my eyes in terms of, you know, this talks about economic benefits of short-term rentals. Well, you're not gonna have economic benefits if you don't have people that can provide the services that people that are coming here need, because the workers can't afford to live here. We need to be looking at this long-term, in a long-term view, rather than just, maybe appeasing, you know, oh, well, we wanna make sure. Yes, we do wanna make sure that the people that are renting the places are not suffering from life safety issues because, you know, septic doesn't work, or there's too many people in the house, or whatever. We also wanna make sure that neighbors are protected, but they're not, and this isn't going to do it, in my view, and I'm really kind of hoping that, I mean, I don't know, there was a committee, I understand, that looked at all of this. I don't know if that committee is still active. I don't know. I'd love to be involved, you know, if there's anything I could do to expedite this, but,
No, the committee's done because it's gone to the board.
okay.
Committee
Okay, so
doesn't exist.
the committee doesn't exist anymore because it already went to the
I
board.
guess I was kind of
Okay.
listening to know if there was gonna be a public hearing scheduled
Yes.
Yes.
for this draft, but you haven't done it yet, right?
This draft, there won't be a public hearing until after
won't.
they meet with the attorney.
So the process is you look at a draft, the board agrees on it, then you, if the board agrees, then you have the public hearing, is that correct?
Correct.
And do you have any comments about,
I would love to meet with you.
Yeah, I mean,
would
I don't know
love to
how you
meet
all
with
feel about this draft, but
I can,
I was really,
I might be out of place here, but I know that before,
Mhm.
there was places that were trying to put zoning in different areas and they were getting fought about it a lot, and there was, maybe Dan can speak on that too, but I mean, that recently there's been some movement forwards with that possibly, right, as far as,
Lake Placid just settled
Right.
a big lawsuit that was brought by people that were second homeowners that were renting the properties out,
Right.
and it was dismissed. Didn't even go to trial. It was
And that's what I'm
dismissed.
saying.
Summarily,
That was Elba,
except
right?
for,
Elba?
that was town of Elba
Town of
and
Elba.
village of Lake Placid.
Where's our guy back there? Give us some
I,
info.
well, I sent a previous board, last iteration of the board last summer, and I believe most of you would have it, the Lake Placid's plan. I did speak to their town lawyer when I called up there to find out. There had been some confusion that their plan had been thrown out, but it had not, and they had anticipated winning their lawsuit, which they did. They have in their structure a 180-day limit on short-term rentals. So the way they tackled the issue, and I'm certainly willing to send copies of their plan again to anybody who would need it or be willing to help in any way that is, I'm passionate on this issue as well. They had separate timeframes for the village of Lake Placid and for the town of Elba. So in town, it was like 220 days of short-term rental allowed. And then in the village, it was 180, I want to say, or 185. And it corresponded directly with the number of days that their community had special events planned that drew large numbers of visitors. And certainly their town lawyer was willing to talk to anybody from this community. They were fired up and passionate about the solution they thought they found. It didn't put a stop to short-term rentals, but it definitely created a situation where people who lived there, who were more inclined to rent their homes, actually stayed in their homes more. And it created more investment from those residents those homeowners in their community because they were residing in their homes more. So I know there's a lot of different ways. I've been looking at it too, to tackle this thing in a lot of different directions, but that is the one Lake Placid chose.
I'd just be curious, like, you know, if the board chose to go in a way of restricting zoning areas as no short-term rentals, those properties will obviously lose value in the properties by, you know, in real estate. I'm just curious how that would resonate with the communities, with those areas. I just don't know. I
Well,
just,
that's
it's
quite
more
an
of a question.
assumption, though. I don't know if that's a correct assumption that they would lose value.
To my, sorry, just to step in real quick.
Oh,
To my assumption, when I was talking with Emily, Emily Kilburn, who's on the board in Lake Placid, town of Elba, and she had said that when they changed the zoning regulations, something about the laws that they had to grandfather in essentially the people that were already using short-term rentals in their property. So they said, okay, in this particular zone, where they had three different modifications. One was no short-term rentals at all within that one restrictive zone. One was they allowed short-term rentals, but only owner-occupied short-term rentals. And then another, they had modified it so that it allowed short-term rentals as an investment property. And they talked about the complexities of those, and I think that they might have decided to go in a different direction and just made a yes and a no zone and just sort of like left it at that. But she said that the biggest issue and why they decided to pass this moratorium was because when they shifted the regulations, they were grandfathering in all these people that are already using the short-term rentals. So it's not going to decrease the property values of those particular properties because they're already being used as short-term rentals, and it's just future investors coming in couldn't. That was, again, just like my understanding of what she was explaining to me on the phone is, so those properties basically are converted, right? Those are now investment properties.
Permanently for even future owners too?
Yeah, I think she had said something about along the lines that they had like a 25-year extension, but she thought that it was defensible in court that basically for the lifetime of that house, it could be feasibly used as a short-term rental, which shines light on the fact that they were really worried about it, that not only do you have to make this choice, but you have to do it in a timely manner, because once those houses are flipped, they might be flipped, even if you change the zoning restrictions in those areas, that now those houses are now an investment property potentially forever. So that's good news and bad news kind of thing.
Somebody's gonna be unhappy.
Absolutely.
Somebody, we have to figure out what.
Whatever
are we
you
gonna-
do, somebody is
Are we
gonna
gonna
be
be
unhappy. You know,
more
you know
concerned
that.
about our community surviving or somebody's house
Well,
not being
that's
as double the price than it probably should be anyway?
Right.
And making it only available to the next person coming in to use the house as a business, you know?
Well, and no doubt, no matter what you
That's
do,
where
there will
I'm
be a
at.
lawsuit, you know?
Yeah.
But it's looking like the courts are trending towards municipalities having the right to restrict, because there are such long-term and devastating effects on the communities.
And it slowly has been happening, I will agree with that, but when we started this, there was lawsuits, there were don't do this, don't do that. You were at the public hearings, you heard the
Yeah.
fiasco that was.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah, but it's,
holy
you know,
smokes.
The time is here though, I mean,
it's
there's
people's money, you know?
I-
They're
I
gonna
know.
say what they wanna
I
say,
know.
whatever they're gonna say,
But
because they're
it's-
upset, they're losing their business that they don't really have any
It's
business.
also their property too, so.
You brought up teachers though, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a teacher we have over here that's been here, I don't know, 7, 8 years now, he's one of our best teachers, and he bounces around every season trying to find somewhere to live, you know, and I picked up a new property where I'm gonna have, you know, some workforce housing, and he's already, you know, right at me, he still can't find a place to live up here, and it's exactly what's gonna continue to happen, is we're just gonna have nobody for anybody to live. I was just trying to state when I first said that, when I put the public, just, you know, my topic was, I just wanted to make it clear that whatever it is we do, it's gotta be a priority.
Remember, we also were talking about housing, which is another topic
You're
that we've
talking
been
about one
dealing-
building, you know, I mean,
Well,
one
60
with
units,
several
I mean,
units.
you know, that we're trying, we really are
I
trying to solve
I
these
understand
issues.
you're trying to come at it great from that side,
Right.
but from this side, I don't know, we're gonna lose our neighborhoods, we're in the process now. And I just think that would be, I'd hate to have to go to the Historical Association to see how it used to be, you know, because it's kind of going that way. You know, I don't wanna live in a neighborhood where you don't know who your neighbors are from, and one day to the next, you don't know, you know, that causes all kinds of problems, insecurity in the neighborhood.
Fred, you're up next. I
All
see you
right.
keep raising your hands.
I'm gonna start down with this end.
Sure.
You remove the restroom at the ice skating rink because snow was piled there, right? The town put snow there. So is that the end of the ice skating rink and for our kids to have something to do next year, or is that just a
We
One
lost-
hot deal.
We lost the ice down there.
Yeah.
That last rainstorm took the ice out and so, and the banks and stuff like that was there, so I didn't realize the unit was taken away yet, to be
Yeah,
honest with you.
yeah, it's gone. And this will kind of go to both of you. It's got to do with kids, okay? And we're working on North Street, and that's wonderful. You know, we've got an ice skating rink that doesn't last long. Why doesn't it last long? Because it's exposed to the environment.
Yep.
You know, do we put something overhead, just overhead, to make the ice last longer?
Yeah.
And make it more friendly? Maybe it could become a vendor's market or a farmer's market in
Yeah.
the summer. There's plenty of parking down there. Now that the town board, now I'm gonna kind of shift down.
Well, I can answer that if you want me to answer that.
Yes.
There actually is an answer to that one. So, at the previous meeting, we spoke about that we're getting architect bids right now to redesign the lakefront, to put a structured shell down there that would actually become an ice skating rink in the wintertime. In the summertime, would be a pickleball court, and it would also be a bandstand attached to it too, so it'd become a multi-unit yearly thing. So it would fix the problem. We'd actually have a Zamboni room, so that the Zamboni could be parked there, it could actually be done on a regular basis, and it would be covered and protected from the wind. So that actually is something that I think we all agree with on the board.
That's another thing we've
So,
been talking.
so that is in the works. We've gotten one bid in, hoping to get 3 bids, so we're just, for
Good.
just the design
Good.
process. So,
Good.
that's being actively pushed, and I was hoping to have 3 bids by now, but
Have you determined the location of it?
it'd be where the tennis courts are most
So you
likely.
would take the tennis courts out.
I think that ice skating rink down there was just kind of put in just to have something. I don't think it was really made to be like this state of the,
But you know, it's amazing because we go by there a lot.
And the kids are
It's
there.
amazing how many kids
For
come
sure.
in.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
really,
yeah.
They
it
are.
really feels good to see kids sitting in that little lean-to, putting on their shoes, and, you know, sometimes mom and dad are sitting in the parking lot in the car watching them. You'll see some kids out with hockey sticks, you know, doing a little hockey game.
I think what Kurt has got in the works
It's,
is gonna be
Well,
incredible compared to
Right.
what that
And
is. And
that's
that's,
true.
and why put money and time into that versus
Yeah.
focus on over here is probably the right
Right.
move.
And if you notice what Inlet just did recently with the hockey program,
Yeah,
Right.
it
my
just
kids are
sparked.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right, that's, I mean, we live in a country that have hockey, and, you know, of course, we don't have a lot of kids that have a hockey team, a basketball team, and a cross-country.
well, we had
team,
hockey and
alpine.
it kind of fizzled, you know, if you remember back,
Yes.
things do that,
Right.
but they go up and they go down, and
Right.
it kind of fizzled out. and-
Right,
But there's 2 things that are going on here right now that are positive as far as in the hockey arena play would say. You know, with North Street, if the flooring does go down, they can actually do rollerblade hockey on there
right.
and train in the off seasons on that floor. And then, not that this would be big enough to do full size
Right.
hockey, but you know, it would be one more benefit that there could be a little, like how we used to do a little league between inlet and whatever. I mean, like, there could be some whatever that comes out of it. But it is, you know, hopefully our intentions are to just create, you know, a jewel for the lakefront. It's not, you know, we really want to create something that's hopefully
And that's,
And that's
that's
you know,
needed down there.
that hallmark
Lakefront
moment. You know,
is prime property, and to have a tennis court that's not used much, only by a few people, now it can be open for a lot of people all season.
well,
So
pickleball is
that's-
a big sport, so like basically we talked about putting a pickleball court in there instead,
Right.
just because it's still about roughly the same size, but you know, it'd just be something, one more thing that can be utilized in there that can be easily moved out of the way too, more or less.
And that court's getting to be pretty bad shape too,
It-
so.
it needs help,
So what do you
so-
do, you know?
So, kind of moving on down to Bonnie and the whole board now, I'd like to thank you for not putting a housing project, the subsidized housing down there for whomever, because that is not the place to do it. I've said before, Joint Tract Road is the second busiest road in the town of Old Fort. You've got the transfer station open all year, traffic going up and down. You got Macaulay Mountain open all year. All these people, and Nix Lake open 4 or 5 months a year. I would not want to have children down there. I don't care how you redesign the roads, it's still going to be the second busiest road. So moving away from there and to wherever it gets moved, it ought to be somewhere where there's something for children to do. If we want to bring young families in here, what is it for kids to do? We gotta find that place. Is it North Street? I don't know, where there's a playground, there's a basketball court, a soccer field. Now there's gonna be a dog park. I don't know if that's I don't know where the right place is, but I really think you made the right choice not putting it there. And the town will have to be involved in this in the future, because there will be subsidized housing. That's Section 8. I've dealt with Section 8 situations. You gotta be involved, or the place will slip and deteriorate and detract from prices. What we just talked about in housing, it will detract. We don't want that. We want to have good subsidized housing wherever it's gonna be, and something that'll bring kids here and families. Affordable. It's not gonna be affordable, it's gotta be subsidized, because like everybody just mentioned, we don't have anything affordable anymore. In fact, if any of us had to move here now, I wonder how many of us would be here.
Right.
I wouldn't be. I don't know who would be. Probably Linda. She's got all the money.
Yeah, she's got
I'm
a
loaded. You see my car?
But thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
I have two questions now. I just had, well, I didn't even have one. I was gonna say, thanks to Tommy for saying that short-term rentals was a priority. I think that is really indicative of a tone shift, you know. I remember asking a procedural question about housing and being told, like, we don't want to be sued. And so to hear a lot of welcoming tone from the board, I just want to say thanks for that. But now that Fred just spoke, I'm glad I went after Fred. What's he talking about? Where's the housing going?
There's been no decision on.
We haven't made a decision on that. The cost to move the road isn't feasible.
Okay, it's prohibitive cost.
Well, the potentially sure, we haven't gotten an official number, but.
You know, but
we've had
we
some
wouldn't get any
meetings.
help at all with that, where we were told before, where maybe the county would be helping us with that, and then the county said, no, we're not helping with that.
IDA.
You know,
Cusick,
just, you
John
know, the
Cusick.
money to go in to move a road
Yeah, right.
to,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember
so
John
yeah,
Cusick
so
saying
we're
that he
just
would
looking
move
at
that road.
other options and other,
Right, we're just exploring our options.
exploring
We're
other options and
exploring other
ideas.
options.
What's
So-
left in the property, if you don't move the road and that, there's no way enough room anyway, so it's.
There might be room for what,
And so
4 apartments there?
We met, well,
Or
more,
something.
there could be more single unit dwellings there, but there are some meetings that have been happening and just we keep asking, like, I haven't been able to see, okay, how do you fit this in there? I mean, that's my whole thing. Like, okay, we move the road, I wanted to see some drawings of how this fits, and really, the answer hasn't been too good. So, we're kind of coming to the conclusion that what needs to be done down there and the amount of units that would have to be done, I don't know, at this point, I'm not sure if it would fit in there. I really don't have the confidence
You
that
know,
it would fit.
even if it fits, you have children, would you want your grandchildren playing down there? That's right. What is that? Location, location, location determines property. We want to attract young families here. We got to put them where their kids feel safe.
I don't disagree with that.
So just to clarify,
Agreed.
it looks likely that site is out of the mix, but the project is ongoing and we still have the same advisor, Don Hall, is still on board,
Yes.
and
I meet with them.
everything is still moving
Everything
forward
is-
to find a location
Yes.
that's suitable for our
Correct.
housing needs.
Correct.
All
Are
right.
you looking exclusively at land that has town water and sewer because of the size of the project? Because that
It's a
could
big
be prohibitive
requirement
too, right?
that there is. a big
Close to
requirement
it.
that,
Right.
It might be its
Yeah,
own,
close
it might
to
be
it.
its own district because
Right,
it's
so,
that many
um,
units.
So it's just, this is all very new to us, so I'm not sure where you heard this from. But,
Yeah.
it's a fairly new thing that we've been exploring and just really just being realistic about the project.
Yeah.
And I think that's more of what we're talking about here, is that we want to make sure we're putting it in the right place and that it's going to be a benefit for everybody that's involved in it.
Right.
So, so hopefully there'll be more answers
You know, I
in the
look-
near future to that.
I looked at the Henry Human property again, I'm not convinced that that's, you know, I know that they were looking at that in the past. I looked at it again and I still don't see where that could feasibly work, so, you know, there's a lot of options to still look at.
So,
Are there?
I hope
so
so.
there's options.
There's options, we're
There's
looking.
always options. I mean,
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We
I just
can't
wanted to
Okay.
say thank you to Tommy and the board for approving the go-ahead for the grant process and looking forward to that in the future. And just in regards to the ice skating rink, I had reached out to Bonnie about that, and if it is closed per se, maybe if we could just put a sign on the building there that says, due to inclement weather, not skate at your own risk, but like, it's not gonna be, because we went there with the ski team and we wondered what was going on. I sent a
Yeah.
picture, because the snow is being dumped there now. I mean, the kids still skated,
Oh, I didn't see.
but like
Yeah,
kind of like
okay.
skate at your own risk kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
no,
yeah,
the-
it's full of snow, the town's been
Oh.
dumping.
they've been dumping
Yeah, no,
snow
they-
on there.
Yeah, I mean, we were what was going on.
We wanted the same thing. I totally get it because of the weather, but just so maybe it doesn't come down on the town versus
I noticed.
due to the weather it's closed or
Yeah.
skate at your own risk kind of thing.
Yeah, because I didn't know it was close to.
Yeah.
There's
Send
new
me a
techno-
picture and said, what's this? I don't know.
There's new technology out there too, just like how they do the radiant heat in the flooring. Some
yeah.
places are doing where they're doing coolant
Oh.
in the flooring and the cement, and they design it that way. So it's not a yearly.
That's how they do indoor rinks, right?
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
to a certain
We
extent,
actually
but
talked about it
I
down
don't-
yonder back in the
this wouldn't be an
day.
indoor rink in the sense of like
Right,
year round.
right,
I mean,
right.
I don't
It'd
think
be
we're-
like an open air
yeah,
covered.
yeah, more or less. I think there's gonna be protection on the sides so that the wind doesn't get to it, because part of the ice is not only snow hitting it, it's also the wind hitting it and blowing snow on it and everything like that, keeping it clear. So the westerly side's gonna have to have some sort of design where it's
Right.
protecting the ice, where maybe towards the lakeway, there might be more open air, looking at the way, but it's not a guarantee, but we are gonna look into explore the option of what that would cost to put some sort of,
Refrigeration unit.
Yeah.
yeah, or coolant,
Yeah.
yeah, refrigeration, but it wouldn't be a year-round thing. It would just help to keep it, and when you have these warm-ups like this, it would
Yeah,
preserve
ice.
the ice through those warm-ups.
It'd be air conditioning in the summer, right?
Yeah, you never know. So, but I don't know what those cost, so it's like, it's a big wish, you know, but it is a new technology.
Just covered would help it a lot.
Oh,
Yes,
covered,
yeah.
covered, a little wind protection would be,
Lights opened back up today.
Yeah, my kids are in it.
They shut down inlets like 2 days ago and said we're closed for the foreseeable future, whatever, it's open right now. They opened it up earlier today. So that's what I'm saying is the coverage and
Yeah, they
the
want to
side,
have
like
it
Kurt
in
is
the
saying,
picture.
Oh,
does
really?
help with that.
Oh, cool.
That's what I was trying to say about the rink being over there. I think it was just like hey, this is a spot for a rink, so we have something down here.
It was because this was not. This
Yes.
isn't.
and
feasible.
winter's not over yet. If you look at this weekend forecast,
I guess we are at, I need a motion to pay the audited claims.
Sure.
Motion.
I'll second that.
Here we go.
Is that Tommy?
Tom's first.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second?
I'll second it. I'll third it.
All in favor?
Are you kidding?
Thank you.
That's it.
You guys, thank you all for coming. I appreciate your input, appreciate your thoughts. Tommy, thanks for all your work on that over there. That's kudos, man.
See what happened.
It'll work.
We gotta
just gotta